Welcome to the fourth video in my compliance playlist. In the last video, Herding Cats, we discussed important issues regarding the semi-annual releases. Many of those points also apply to the monthly bulletins. Instead of restating those points in this video, I'm putting a link in the top right corner so you can watch that video in context with this one. What is a monthly bulletin? In technology, the only constant is change. Things never stay the same. The payments industry is a transactional business built on a technology foundation. Guess what? Things are always changing. Changes to any system or process affect other people, systems, and processes. Therefore, it has always been critically important to send out notifications of upcoming changes. Those notifications are called bulletins. Over the decades that I've been in the payments industry, how to notify the affected parties has always been the challenge. I still remember my early days in the industry when change notification bulletins would be sent out by whoever was doing the change at any time they were making a change. Those were the worst of times. There was no standardized format or language in the bulletins as they were sent out by the various departments or teams making the changes. There was no cadence to the bulletins. They were sent out as needed. Speaking of as needed, there were no guardrails forcing teams sending out the bulletins to give adequate lead time for the impacted recipients to make the corresponding changes. We could do a whole episode on the battles and soap operas that took us from those days to today. Today, centralized publication teams standardize the format and language of the bulletins. These same publication teams have defined cadence for the bulletin issuance. Governance and gating procedures have been set at institutional and government levels that impose specific lead times for changes to be communicated to the affected parties. We are in much better place today than we were in the good old days. So, a bulletin is a document that is published to announce upcoming changes. Today, most companies have a scheduled cadence of bulletins, either weekly or monthly. Entities like payment networks that publish hundreds of bulletins per year usually have summary documents or spreadsheets listing the bulletin titles, type of bulletin, impacted parties, and the effective dates for the changes. What are the types of bulletins? Bulletin types are categorized by the changes they contain. These changes may be operational procedure changes. For example, from this future date, there will be one chargeback cycle instead of two, and here's how we're going to handle the in-flight chargebacks over the transition period. Fee changes. Each year or so, bulletins are published announcing the new fee for a certain service or product. Yes, the recipients typically roll their eyes and say, "Oh, what do you know? A price drop! Ha!" Don't you just love their sarcasm? Rules bulletins. These notify that something is changing in the rules or contract language. When you receive this type of bulletin, forward it to your legal team quickly. They will be the ones who can understand the legalese language in the bulletin attachments containing the revised rules. Keep your legal team accountable. You want and need a translation of the upcoming rule change in clear language so that you can know if any downstream processes, documentation, or products need to be modified as a result of this rule change. Security bulletins. Did you know that fraud and financial crime are also technology-based industries? They are constantly changing their tactics and technology. Therefore, network and process security teams are regularly updating their procedures and tools in an attempt to keep ahead of the bad actors. If you're not familiar with this part of the payment industry, watch my video, Risk Management, Looking from 30,000 Feet. Product announcements. By product, we mean these bulletins are announcing a new or updated payment card, POS terminal, service, or some other thing that is new or updated. Release-related bulletins. We covered this category in the last video on semi-annual releases. Since YouTube won't let me post the link to that video twice in this video, here's a link to the Keeping Between the Lines playlist. It's video number 3 on that playlist. Cascading changes. Okay, I needed a title for this category, and this was the best I could do. Legislative changes or payment network updates may force downstream participants to make changes as well. Whoever starts the cascade will put out an operational bulletin, a fee bulletin, or a release bulletin. The other downstream partners also put out bulletins notifying their downstream partners of cascading changes caused by that first bulletin. Maybe an example will help. In 2010, the Canadian government created a code of conduct for the payments industry. One of the elements of the code document stated merchants must be notified 30 to 60 days before any core fee changes. The merchant would then have 70 days to terminate their acquired contract penalty-free if they didn't like the new fees. This caused a cascade of bulletins. Payment networks issued bulletins adjusting their lead time for price change notifications. Acquirers issued bulletins detailing how the price change process would work. Merchant solution providers issued bulletins identifying which fees were impacted by this code of conduct element. As you can see, one legislative change caused a significant cascade of change notifications and bulletins for many parties. Who issues monthly bulletins? The short answer is any entity with a technology base and any entity impacted by upstream bulletins. We could keep this section really short by just saying everybody, and that would be accurate. However, let me give you a partial list. I'm going to attempt to do it in descending order. Each entity in this list can be the initiator of a bulletin. However, as we get further down the list, you will see that these entities may be publishing bulletins based on cascading requirements from those higher in the list. Here we go. Government. They issue regulatory bulletins. Payment networks. All the categories of bulletins we've already listed. Issuer and acquirer processors, platform enhancements, product and process change bulletins, and cascading bulletins too. Issuers and acquirers, legal and rule change bulletins, pricing bulletins, many of these are cascaded from government or payment network bulletins. Card program managers or merchant payment solution providers, new products, changing procedures, and a lot of cascading changes. Merchant co-brand partners and merchants, notifications to cardholders and customers on changing processes, platform enhancements, and any cascading changes that impact their customers. So, why are bulletins so boring? Yes, plowing through the monthly bulletins has to be one of the most tedious, boring tasks for a compliance person and anyone else trapped in the same room with them. If I could have taken photos of the hundreds of compliance meetings over my career, I would have an incredible library of eye rolls. People physically in the meeting but totally lost in their cell phone or laptop. People sleeping. Yup, I would have photo evidence. And incredibly bored people. I think the axiom from the pilots flying airplanes applies well to bulletin review meetings. Hours of tedium with moments of sheer terror. Yes, my photo album would also have a smaller collection of panic-stricken people. Anger management issues on full display. Mute shock. Portraits of sheer terror. And even tears of frustration. As I mentioned earlier in this video, in the old days, bulletins didn't have any standardized cadence or language. They were often a shock in timing and a puzzle in interpretation. The entities publishing the bulletins have addressed those concerns. However, in doing so, they've created documents so structured and so rigid in language, they rival legal documents for tedium and obscurity. That in itself can make them brutal to read. You know, I would really like to have a conversation with a lawyer to find out how they survive a career of reading and writing tedious, convoluted legal documents. Somehow that quality was missing from my gene pool. Okay, conspiracy theory time. Even though I spent 26 years working for a major international payment network, I have often wondered if there's a strategy in how convoluted and disconnected fee bulletins and rule change bulletins are. It's almost like they don't want you to be able to connect the dots, like, how much is that fee going up? Or, what is the net effect of this rule sentence changing 3 words? I have no proof, I've always just wondered. What I can say is that the disconnected way some bulletins are written makes them incredibly tedious and therefore boring. Do I really want to pull up the billing app on the portal to see the current fee, and then I can do the math of what it will be times the occurrences of that fee, so then I can report that this upcoming fee change will cost us $325.67 extra per next year? Maybe I'll just send the bulletin over to the finance team. They must like doing tedious stuff or they wouldn't be in finance, right? Downstream bulletins carry a special type of tedium. Often they will give a short reference to the upstream bulletin that has caused this downstream change.
As required by MasterCard Announcement GLB 10607.4, we are making the following changes.
Really? You mean I have to look up that bulletin to make sense of your bulletin? Thanks. Enough on that topic. I think I've made my point. So, why should I care? The very short answer, and the one your boss can give you, is that's what you're paid to do. Though that motivation is compelling, I've never found it to be inspiring. Let me see if I can inspire you with reasons why the monthly bulletins are important. Number 1, bulletins provide continuity. Let me go back to my reference to the pilot's axiom of hours of tedium and moments of sheer terror. Pilots are trained to always watch their instruments and follow careful procedures, even on sunny days. This gives them discipline and familiarity with the aircraft and its instruments. When the unexpected happens, even when the moments of sheer terror happen, they already have a wealth of contextual knowledge from their discipline of always watching everything. The same holds true for the compliance team. Reading the monthly bulletins and connecting the dots between them, these are the disciplines that give you the contextual knowledge to foresee major changes that would otherwise blindside you and your company. Number 2, the devil is in the detail. How many times have you heard or used that phrase? Let me give you an example. A rep from the payment network comes in and gives a colorful PowerPoint presentation complete with videos on a new product. However, the presentation doesn't cover the detailed requirements and the restrictions that the new product carries. Those details hide in the bulletins. As I covered in my first video on this series, a good compliance team partners with its corporate strategy and product teams. The good compliance team will be reading the monthly bulletins related to that new product. The compliance team will be invited to that fancy PowerPoint presentation and will be looking for the details associated with that new product before, during, and after the meeting. Nothing breaks a new product launch like missing the details. And I have seen many products launch and sink because nobody was reading the monthly bulletins. Number 3, knowledge is power. Too many people misuse this statement. They think they, as an individual, will be more powerful by grabbing information and not sharing knowledge. No, it doesn't work that way. They rise with their knowledge, but as they alienate themselves from their coworkers and partners, over time, everyone realizes that person's knowledge is not worth the bother of navigating their ego. So, the person is marginalized or let go without a goodbye party. Knowledge is powerful when used in the context of partnerships. The compliance team is the curator of technical, operational, security, and legal information through the bulletins. This information is translated and distilled into usable knowledge by the compliance team so that it can be shared with other impacted teams. This provides power to the company and the ability to have more pertinent and exact conversations with internal and external partners. Number 4, it's your job. I bet you didn't see that one coming, but it's true. If you work in compliance, you have signed on to be a compliance professional. If you're going to be the best, you need to track the moving pieces surrounding you. Know your upstream and downstream partners and what they are announcing in their bulletins. Know how these bulletins tie back to the strategic initiatives and changes in the payments world. And most of all, be your best at what you do. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. If you have more questions about the payments industry, leave a message in the comments below. You can also contact me through my website, mentoredbymarkt.com, or via email, markt@mentoredbymarkt.com.